Hey y'all, this is Paul. I just wanted to do a pre-podcast episode announcement, and I had no better place to put it than to go ahead and do one at the beginning and talk one-on-one with you. So here we are. Hi. So here's the thing. The Real Paul Show podcast has been growing so exponentially rapid. I don't know what's going on here. It's amazing. I'm loving it because within the music community, there are so many loving and caring people who want to help and support each other. And that's what I do. I help support musicians by shining the spotlight on them, getting their story, and providing it to you, the listener. So now I have something to offer you interactively. I would love to hear what you think about the show. I know I've mentioned it in past episodes, but I really mean it. I want to hear what you guys think about the show, what you guys hate about the show, what you guys love about the show. Because how am I going to provide you a show that you will love unless I hear your input? So one of the things I've done this week is I created a podcast Twitter account. It's solely for the Real Paul Show podcast. So that podcast account on Twitter is TRPS Pod. It's just the initials of the Real Paul Show with the abbreviation of podcast. So it's TRPS Pod. Go ahead, follow me, shoot me a message if you want, tweet me. I would love to hear from you guys. Also, just check out my feed. I've been retweeting some of the stuff from previous interviewees, and I've been doing some announcements, such as the other thing I've done this week is I created a Patreon page. So you can become a Patreon for as little as $3 a month. But if you are serious about listening to this show and you want to see the actual behind scenes of the interviews, I'm going to be providing those for you. You'll be able to watch these interviews uncut, which is very embarrassing to me, but I don't mind providing it to the memberships that cost $25 a month. So I would love for you guys to check out my Patreon page. It's simply The Real Paul Show, and you can check it out there. I look forward to you guys joining. One of the things that I also created, I believe it was last week, I created a forum for you guys to go and to communicate with me and the show. It's just a great place to cultivate a loving music community. So check it out. It's trps.us/forum. And on the forum, there is the keywords box at the top that I've mentioned also in previous episodes. And throughout future episodes from this point forward, you will be hearing me mention keywords during the interview. And that's very important for you to know where you can go and use those keywords. That will be on the forum. Thank you so much for allowing me to give you this long-winded advertisement beforehand. I'm not going to hold you any longer.
Where is the place you go, where you swear you...
Welcome to another episode of The Real Paul Show, where artists share their heart about their passion for what they do. Take a moment to look over the episode's description to familiarize yourself with available links, as they will be mentioned throughout the podcast. And now, here's your host, Paul Bice.
I will lay out a course when you rush it in circles. I will stay through the storm. I will not hurt you.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of The Real Paul Show. I get so excited every episode with the people that I interview. In this episode, I interviewed Sarah Tolle, another Vancouver, Canada-based musician she is an independent musician who creates really fun and just stripped down music that it says what it says and it is what it is. It's very folky, very storytelling kind of music. So this is a inside look at Sarah Tolle and her heart behind her music. We discuss everything from when she started music, what her job is now that actually kind of correlates with her producing and creating music. We also talk about the producer issue within music, whether or not it's a good idea to have a producer or to just produce it on your own. So all of this in this episode and more. First of all, before we get into the show, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing, whether it be money or if you don't have the funds to contribute to the podcast. It helps me so much if you would just rate and follow the podcast on your favorite podcasting network. If you're not on one of those networks, you can listen to and view the show in the web browser with the link that I provide in this show description. But if you want to, you can go to the forum if you already have that bookmarked for the keywords, and you can use the keyword TRPS. That's just simply the initials of The Real Paul Show. Just enter the keyword TRPS and it'll take you to the podcast webpage where you can listen to the episodes in your web browser. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. Sarah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Fighting for you when you're rushing in circles. I have decided on you. I will not hurt you.
I'm Sarah Tolle, and I'm a singer-songwriter from Vancouver, and on the side I'm also an actress. I've been involved with film for a couple of years, and Vancouver's a great place for that. And then I work full-time as a content director with an indie media company, and we build digital stuff like websites and blogs and digital online courses and fun stuff like that. And so it spills over a lot into my work as an independent artist because I get to borrow lots of things that I learn from my quote-unquote real work and bring it to the indie artist marketing part of being a singer-songwriter.
Right. Awesome. And you are an independent artist, but aside from doing the public music scene, when did you first start playing or singing?
I first started, taking it seriously. I started 1 year ago, and I guess taking it seriously, like I first sent a song to a producer to get help making it, and the idea at that time was just make a song, see what a music producer does and what it'll sound like. Do I have the ability to do this? And was going to hire a singer, but since then I've realized I could sing and started calling myself a singer. But yeah. I've been liking music, playing music and learning music all my life, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, same here for me as far as like the singing and stuff, because I have been very self-conscious about my own voice. And I mean, I think I hear it a lot from a lot of the artists that we are our own worst critic. Mm. And that is one of the things that I've been having to get over. And I think in 2021, I was actually able to do that. So probably about the same time you have, actually. Now that you say that, that's cool.
Really?
Yeah. I released my first song in March of last year.
Oh, nice. We're almost right aligned up.
Right?
That's a big deal.
It is. It really is, to get over that hump and move forward.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, do you have anything at this point to ask?
I'd just say I'm surprised that it's just been a year that you've been around taking it seriously, because you have a wonderful voice. I've listened to a couple of your things on Spotify.
Oh, thank you.
I was surprised that there was only 4 songs there. Of course, the prime one that comes up is Fight for You, which is really catchy, really good. Is that based on something personal in your life or something a friend went through?
Kind of, yeah. It's a little mix, I guess. It's one of those. Fight for You I released in November. That's my latest. I've got some more coming. Don't worry, Jeremy. Yeah. Fight for You is based on actually a collaboration with my mom. I had some chords and some melody worked out, but the lyrics were just me going like blah, da, 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 and singing whatever word just came out. And I sent that to my mom and asked if it brought up any imagery for her. And she said it felt like someone that was talking to a loved one who's depressed or has some type of struggle in their life that they're not able to help themselves, and the caregiver's not able to get through to them. And so my mom had some of this imagery and phrasing, and she sent that back. And so it was kind of this co-write with my mom, I guess you could say, about mental health and caregiving.
Nice.
Yeah, that one was pretty well received because I think a lot of people are appreciating messages about mental health and wellness right now.
Yeah, it is a big thing, the whole quote unquote positive vibes, kind of thing. I kind of shied away from that phrase to start when I first heard it because it just sounded kind of silly to me, but I'm really starting to understand it. And I think that people do look for that in the music. And that kind of brings me to the question that I love to ask, because I love hearing the variety of answers from different people in different walks of life. And that is, when you did first start, and it sounds to me like from your first answer that we didn't get recorded, but your first answer, you said that you had been singing and dancing and everything from before you could even talk. But when did you come to that first realization where music really grabbed you and you took notice of it? What was it, or who inspired you at that point? What was the feeling that you had that drew you into the music?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. You must get good answers from that.
I get a lot of them.
Yeah, so many moments came up for me. I guess one of the more impactful experiences with music I've had was when I was very young, and having even a crappy piano. We couldn't even keep the piano tuned to other instruments. It was so old, so we just tune it to itself and let it be lower than the rest. But just being able to like touch something. I mean, you're like little, right? And so the fact that you can touch something and it makes noise is very cool. And just that feeling of, I don't know, just like nothing else is going on and you're just making noise. It's a very cool feeling, and it's very immersive. Yeah, probably that, honestly.
And as you got older, did that shift into another feeling, or is that like just the fact that you can play and escape, or play and for me, what I'm finding a lot of the common thread among all of the artists pretty much in any aspect is that it goes to the phrase that I like to say a lot, and I use it as a catchphrase on my podcast page. And that is that music says what words cannot. Not to guide your answer, but that's an example answer.
Yeah.
Even in now, what does music do?
For me, music is kind of just an extension of living. And thinking. I totally agree with you that music says what words cannot, and music is such an emotional language. It's so primal. And I think that music for me is often a way to process, especially like obsessive, repetitive thoughts, because when you put it to a little tune, suddenly it's like an enjoyable little moment that you're having to sing this thing to yourself, instead of just having it like spin around in your mind. So I think that for me, music is really just a form of living and communication and expression. Yeah.
It's almost kind of like journaling in a way.
Yeah.
You get it out and it's done, and you feel better afterwards. I know, like this last week, I know I'm answering my own question, but last week I had that situation that I mentioned, and it threw me into like a depression this week. I mean, it got dark within my own head. And I think it was 2 nights ago, I was like, you know what? I've got to force myself to write about it and to do what I like to do, which is sometimes they just come to me, but other times I have to kind of be like, okay, settle down and write. Just put the pen to the paper or pick up the phone, type it in there, whatever. And I wrote this piece that I put on TikTok as a spoken word. And I layered it with my last release so that it had a musical background to it. And when it was all said and done, done, it was like that darkness had lifted. And so, yeah, it really does. And I like the way you said music is primal. That I hadn't heard that one yet. And that's a good answer. It's like, it is. It's a part of us. It's always been a part of us.
Totally. It's like sound waves charged up with emotional energy, and it really moves people.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And I'll go on a limb here for my own experience of what I've learned from my life in church. I've read about how that even at the very beginning, Satan was a beautiful angel who was a music leader. So, I mean, this goes back before the earth was even there,
Yeah.
you know? So for us, for those who believe that, a connection there that I see. And I, like what you said, primal, it's been there forever. But
Yeah.
anyway, I digress. We want to talk about you.
Oh.
And now a brief message from Ophelia on how you can contribute to the podcast.
If you enjoyed what you heard here, please consider supporting the podcast with a monthly contribution. To contribute, just click the link in the description of this episode or visit The Real Paw Show on Anchor FM.
I'd like to say a thank you for my contributors, and I would like to welcome you guys to contribute as well. You can click the link in the description of this podcast and donate $1, $5, or $10 a month. You can also do a one-time donation by going to trps.us/podcast. And I have on there available for you to donate on Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. Thanks in advance for your contribution. So, with your music, you just started as I did, so 1 year ago.
Yeah.
What are your hopes? What direction do you see it taking you? And
I'd like to write songs for animated films. I think that'd be so fun. And so I don't know if Jeremy, you think this, but so many people who hear my music say this sounds like something from like a musical or a Disney movie. And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. So I think that'd be really fun. Start getting into songwriting for film, especially like, the ones where the characters sing the music.
Yeah.
That would be super fun. Not soundtrack, or what's it called? Scores, like musical scores, not so much that. But yeah, I think that would be super fun. And maybe eventually I would do a live performance. Like that would be my next step because I've never performed like properly. Like I don't know how to do a show yet where you have banter and things you say and you have your songs in a particular order to take people on a journey. I haven't really gotten that far yet. So before I start thinking about like touring or signing or anything like that, probably should figure out how to put on a show.
Yeah. That sounds really cool. I mean, it goes back to what we were just talking about, because the music sets the mood, and that would definitely be in that same frame of mind as you write these songs.
I was just gonna say I could totally see that with animation and stuff. I could also see you doing local shows and stuff. I really like the kind of folk type sound. It's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of pulled back a little bit. It's I guess kind of going back to your whole primal thing. It's stripped back. It doesn't have a whole bunch of clutter on it. It has that feeling to it.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to keep it very simple feeling. I really love Dolly Parton. And I remember her in an interview saying once, like, do you think country music's ever gonna like die or something? And she said, no, like country music is a very, at its core, a very like simple music, and people are always gonna want simple songs. And I'm like, yeah, like I don't care. A lot of the stuff I write is quite cheesy, and I like it that way. I like simple, memorable stuff that's just easy to sing, easy to learn. You don't have to read between the lines. It's just there. I like that.
It kind of, I mean, I have seen your stuff, and one of the things that came to my mind when I saw some of it was like bluegrassy.
Yeah.
I was with my dad in Tennessee. I visited him a little while back,
Yeah.
and we went to this convenience store, like a Circle K kind of thing, but it wasn't a name brand on it. It was just a mom and pop place.
Yeah.
And they had a little back room, and I think it's like once a month or something like that, they have these guys from all over come there to play together.
Right.
And I mean, after sitting there watching them play, that some of them will be coming in the middle of the show because they're at work and they just come when they can.
That's cool.
And it just was really awesome. I actually have some of the recordings of that when I was there, and it was a lot like what you were just saying. It's just simplistic music with stories behind it,
Yeah.
and just something that make you laugh, cry, whatever.
I love it. Yeah. I think sometimes you know how it is, like you're trying to write a song and then you start making it like way too cool. You're like, let me make it more deep and like meaningful. And I can't use like normal adjectives. I have to use a cool one, like a metaphor. And I think bluegrass music does get you a little away from that, because a lot of times it has that call and response kind of feel so that anybody could pick it up, even if they didn't know how to read, that kind of thing. So I think that it's that genre just is a nice one to lean on for just reminding yourself, oh yeah, you can just sing a song that goes like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and just like repeat yourself over and over again.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by The Shop.
Are you wanting a haircut, trim, or just a fresh new look in general? Look no further than The Shop. Located in Lehigh Acres, Florida, their friendly and chill atmosphere makes you feel right at home while getting your favorite hairstyle that suits you. Check them out on Google today, that's D-A-S-H-O-P, for more information and see what they can do for you. The Shop is a proud supporter of The Real Paul Show.
We now return you to the interview.
Do you have other family members that are into music?
Not professionally, but everybody in my family likes to sing and enjoys it. My parents both like to sing. We grew up with my dad would sing in the church choir. And because there's 4 kids in the family, somebody had to sit with the kids in the pew and make them behave. So my mom was in the pew. But we'd always sit really close up to the front so that we could kind of participate in the choir a bit more. They're like right up at the front, sit right by the piano. So yeah, we all grew up singing and learning how to read music. And everybody in my family kind of took on a different instrument. I was in more piano, but my sister went for the cello, and like my brother was on drums, another brother on like oboe, and I don't even know what else he played. But yeah, so we had a bunch of instruments all around. Nobody was trying to start a band in the garage, though. We weren't that serious about it. Yeah, just casual.
Let's see. So what instruments do you play?
I play piano and banjo. I don't play either of them very well. I'm not really an instrumentalist. I don't know. Do you know musicians who are just like, they know enough to like compose a song, but it's not, nobody would hire me to play the instrument. Really? You too? Okay.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
I dabble, and I mean, with piano, I can play by ear, like the melody. I can't really do chords much.
Yeah.
The only chords that I know how to play, I just kind of rearrange them around to make another song out of it.
Like, oh, that's right, in a different time signature. Like, yeah.
Right, yeah. And I seem to always be locked into like A minor for some reason. I just like the sound.
But you can avoid flat keys, so.
Yeah, pretty much.
Makes it easier.
I play one black key to kind of shift the tone, and it's like, ooh, that sounds good.
Yes, I'm a fan of A minor and C major on piano, because it's just like, just use the white keys and you'll be fine. Like,
right. But for me, I play like wind instruments. I love to pick up brand new odd instruments. Like my collection is an ocarina, a pan flute, the steel tongue drum, and I have I can't move it because my phone's being held up by it, but I have a kalimba and
Those have such a nice sound.
I know, right?
It's
like a
so
little
happy.
music
It
box.
reminds me of a banjo. It's very like cheerful sound. I love
Yeah.
it. That's cool.
Yeah, and so what I like to do for like the enhancements of it is I put nature sounds that I've recorded myself behind the music, and that gives it kind of a little bit of a boost to allow myself some space in between to spread it out and just to kind of give you that relaxing kind of feeling. That's where I kind of go towards, is the relax. But of course, I enjoy all genres.
Yeah, I saw that on your website, I think it was. I was like, oh, okay, Paul does a lot of like nature sounds. They're very cool. I've always wanted to try to get like bubbling water sound into one of my songs, but not make it like a nature song, kind of still keep that kind of commercial feel, but use nature sounds. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't done it yet.
If you need any nature sounds, let me know. I'll see what I can do to get something recorded for you.
Yeah, really. Get me a burbling brook.
I could probably do that. I'd have to find. We have a lot of canals down here. I'm sure that on a good day, I could probably do that.
That's cool.
Okay, so you do your music, but you said that you had contacted a producer to help with that. Do you do any of your own editing and like from start to finish at all, or?
Only a little bit. I'm very impatient with learning technology, so I tend to learn exactly how much I need to get it and then ship it. But I did on my first song, because I wasn't really aware of how like a good producer can work with you, just like sending them just a rambling a cappella vocal file on your phone. Like they're so good. So on my first song, I didn't know that yet. So I'd already picked out some samples and made some of the instrumental parts that I knew I kind of as a reference. I kind of wanted to sound like that. But after I learned what a producer could do, I was like, "Oh boy, I'm never touching this again. I'm going to let the professionals handle it."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know about all that myself. I've been doing everything from start to finish.
Crazy. It takes so long to learn the software.
I've been in it since I was young. And so a lot of this software is very much like other softwares that I've used. And so the learning curve for me is a lot shorter. I've always been in the technical stuff. So, the first release I did was using the MIDI keyboard connected to my very slow laptop that I have and just making do with what I have. And all the other releases I've done were actually recorded on my phone.
Nice.
So,
I mean, sometimes the quality is quite good.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an Apple or a Samsung, those two are competing against each other all the time, so they're really good with recording.
Yeah.
And there's so much free stuff out there now. Like BandLab, I've mentioned it to a couple of artists on the show now. It's an awesome app for setting up tracks, and you can record your own stuff. Yeah, and again, if you're interested in learning stuff like that, or I know you said you just give it all to the producer and you love that, but if you ever get that itch to maybe step a little further into that, just contact me. I'm happy to help. That's why I do this podcast, because I love to come up beside other musicians and put a spotlight on them.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's such a kind offer. Thank you.
Yeah. Any technical question, like I said, just feel free to contact me.
We'll be right back after the break.
If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on other listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
We now return you to the interview.
Jeremy, do you have any questions or comments at this point?
You mentioned Dolly Parton previously. Do you have other musical inspirations?
Oh man, just pretty much only Dolly Parton. I'm obsessed with Dolly Parton, but I'm sure I do. I know I have more. I have more. Like Disney movies, Pixar movies, musicals. I just love that stuff. To be honest, I can't help it. I still love the music from like Anastasia and Quest for Camelot and Pocahontas and all this stuff. I'm over 30 years old, and it's just good music.
Yeah.
Honestly. Wow.
I just received the movie Encanto,
That's good.
and I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it. But I've heard the song "We Don't Talk About Bruno"
Yeah.
so many times on TikTok. I was like, okay, I got to see what this is all about.
Yeah, that was like a #1 song, period.
Yeah.
I was like, what, are you kidding me? That's crazy. Yeah, good song. It's good stuff. I always like that, like a little bit, I don't know. I feel like that music is kind of like me. It's a bit cheesy, and it's not afraid to look like cheesy. It's so stylistically on point. It's not trying to pretend to be cool or edgy, which is a good fit for me, because I'm just not edgy at all. So yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. But I'm very eclectic with my tastes as well. I know a lot of folks who you get the folks who are really genre like loving, and then people who just can't stand to listen to the same thing. Like I need to listen to classical music for a while, and then I'll go through like a bachata phase, and then I'll go through like a reggaeton phase, then I'll be back into like a death metal I went through. Like, it's just kind of everything.
I cannot envision you listening to death metal.
Yes. Okay. You know who's got a great song? Disturbed. Is that a band? A guy?
Yeah.
A band? Sound of
Yeah.
Silence by Disturbed.
That is an incredible.
Yeah.
That song made me fall back in love with like that metal sound. So is that metal?
Yeah, I think so. Me and Jeremy actually mod for a professional cellist who plays that version.
Oh,
And it just is so beautiful.
it's beautiful. I'm like, man, I mean, I've always loved that song. I love Simon and Garfunkel, and I love all the singers from that era, but that is a good version.
And you mentioned that you're very eclectic in your taste. I've kind of always been a little eclectic. Like, I'll sample things here and there, but I've always stuck with listening to like EDM, techno music. A beat, it gets me going. Other than that, I liked classical. I mean, how can you not? But the interesting thing is, by doing these podcasts and interviewing different people and opening the doors, just keeping my mind open to listen to their music. And what I've been doing now is I created a playlist on Spotify of all the people I've interviewed, and I just throw all of their songs in that playlist. And
Mix.
yeah, so I thought it would be cool for my listeners to be able to go to the playlist and have it all there in one spot. But yeah, so I think that it's really important to not lock yourself into a genre. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong to love one particular genre, but I think that it is important to just kind of be willing to hear the heart behind the music instead of just focusing on the music itself. And I think that you kind of make that easier with your style, because like you say, it's not this trying to be cool kind of thing. It's just what it is. And that's kind of neat that you do that, because it's more personable, I would think. In my thinking, it sounds like it's just a clearer picture of who you are. You know?
Yeah. And I think at this level, or whatever you want to call it, that I'm at, like beginning, there's no reason to say like, oh, I only do this style and I really need to keep my style. Like, I don't have a style. I don't have one. So I'll just make whatever. I go song by song. I'm not doing albums. I'm doing singles. And then if this song happens to be like kind of an angry breakup song, then it'll have that like power ballad feel. And if this song is like a relaxed song, it'll sound more like a Joni Mitchell piece. So not that I sound like Joni Mitchell, but you get what I'm saying. I am not saying that.
Okay, it's time for another quick break where we tell you how you can have your questions or comments aired on the show.
If you'd like to record a question or comment to possibly be aired on a future podcast, just click the message link in the description of this episode or visit the Real Paul Show podcast on Anchor FM.
Just another brief method for you to leave a voice comment to be aired on the show. Just simply call 561-342-1761. That number again is 571-342-1761.
There's a lot of cool songs out there that are just to be cool. Like you're saying, they're about the tempo and the rhythm, and they're good and they're catchy, but you start really listening to it and you're like, there's really no content to some of this. or you just can't tell what they're saying. Funny, you just have to look at the lyrics to even understand what they're trying to go for. So I think a lot more people can identify, and I think you get a lot of repeat listeners to songs with more story and more content to really dive.
Yeah, definitely. That story and like that meaning, I think, is important for people. There's a lot of. I'm more of like a sound person in my listening, where if the sound is there, I really don't know who the artist is, what genre it is, or what they're singing about. I just like the feel of the sound. You too? Because you'll always say, I love this song, and then someone will say, oh yeah, who sings it? You're like, no idea. I just like the song. And then there's other folks who really care more about the backstory, right? They want to know about the artist. They want to know what the song meant, where they wrote it, all that stuff. So I think you get like a mix of people.
Yeah. And I kind of like talked with Jeremy about that, because whenever I first approached him to be the co-host, he's like, well, I don't really know the details about the music. I just like to listen to it.
Yeah, same.
And I'm like, well, I'm the same way. I said, and the beauty of the podcast is we're able to talk to the artist, and we are learning more of the details as we go along, because we're hearing names of people they liked and things like that.
Yeah. It's funny. It makes me think of a quote by Julia Cameron. If it were up to most artists to choose a label for themselves, most would choose none. And I think there's probably a lot of folks who you speak to on the podcast or just out and about who they're like, I don't know. I just make music. I don't even know what genre it is.
Right.
Yeah,
I actually do get a lot of that. They're like, I don't really think I fit into a specific genre, and same with me. Like, people have asked me, well, what type of music do you play? I'm like, well, relaxing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what genre.
Yeah. That works.
They've told me, like, whenever I play piano, it's like modern classical. I'm like, okay, so I'm modern classical. All right. But whenever I go to release it on DistroKid, there's no selection for modern classical.
Yeah, that's so true. It's funny. You do get good feedback from people. That's one of the main reasons to put yourself out there. Aside from just doing it, but it's nice to get the feedback, and people will tell you, oh, people have told me it sounds husky. Really? I sound husky? Like, I would have never come up with that on my own.
Yeah.
It's nice. I've got a little document I keep where people tell me, like, one of my hits, like, you're whatever, you sound like this, you sound like that. I'll just put it in the documents that for later.
Right. And that's a good point for me to put a plug in here for my listeners. I really do enjoy the feedback, whether it be the podcast or the music, because if I hear what people are thinking, then I can better understand what people like. And not that I'm going to reformat my entire music, but it just gives me a better understanding of what people are hearing.
Yeah. And it's easier to have a conversation with somebody that they're like, what does your music sound like? And you're like this. That's what people tell me. So.
Yeah. And with the podcast, definitely want people's opinions. So listeners, the phone number, the email. Let me hear your comments. I want to know what you love about the show, and I want to know, bonus points, what you hate about the show.
You're obviously very creative with everything. What are your other hobbies and interests besides?
Well, I do like to act, and acting's actually been a really good training for music. Really nice, like great crossover between them. I got into acting a few years ago in Vancouver because there's so much filming going on here. Well, I mean, that's not why I got into it. I got into it because I was walking down the sidewalk and was like, I need to act. But it's great because there's so many awesome classes and instructors here. And that's been pretty cool because it teaches you to channel your emotions and to know how to emotionally prepare yourself for a particular performance. And it's been so nice going into the recording studio to record a song. I just use the same techniques as from acting, but for music. That's been great. It's nice to have hobbies that are, what's it called, where they help each other? Synthesis or whatever? Symbiosis. Yeah. That's the word. Yeah.
Symbiotic.
Symbiotic. that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're independent. You've done something that I haven't even considered, but that would be something interesting to have somebody come in and do like producing.
Yeah.
But my fear in that is that it would lose the way I explained it in one of my podcasts. When I write music and produce it and release it, it's symbolistically like my baby. I've gone through the gestation period and have formed this child that I've released, and to bring somebody else in on that personal for me, I don't know, maybe I'm a control freak, but this is my piece. Only I know how it's going to sound. So I'm interested to hear how your feelings are on that, and how that you send this stuff to a producer. Are you able to tell the producer, this is the sound I want, this is how I want it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I don't know. I think based on my interactions with producers or friends and stuff, you realize there's kind of a range. I've got a producer friend who's like, oh yeah, most artists just send me like a quick clip of them singing like on their phone, just walking around, and I'll make everything off that. And I'm like, ooh, I'm not quite comfortable with that. Like, I like to have my song fully developed, and I like to have a sound in mind as well. So my briefs for the producer are like the whole song, all the lyrics written out. It's got a scratch track with just like a piano or a banjo, because those are the only two instruments I can play. So it's got a piano or a banjo and me singing a vocal track. And then from there, I usually send 3-ish, 4 like YouTube videos of songs where I'm like, I want the drums from this, and I want like the back instruments from this, the backing, and I kind of explain that, like the feeling. Like I'll use a couple words in the brief as well. Like I want it to feel like smooth and like milky, or like things to help, because I don't know the right actual technical words of the EQ thingies, right, or whatever. So yeah, I'm pretty explicit, because it's like what you've said, right? Like, you can hear the song in your head. So it's just about communicating that.
So I'm curious. So when they do this, do they give you like a rough draft of, okay, this is what it might sound like? And are you able to fine tune that and tweak it?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Ovi always sends me back like a first version, but his first versions are always so good. Like they're so good. I remember the first version I ever received back. I'm like, I cried. Like, it was so beautiful. It was so surprising how he just nailed it. Like, it was exactly what I was saying. So yeah, I've gotten lucky too many times, but Ovi's also much more experienced, and he's worked with some studios and labels and whatever. So he's got a lot of experience working with different requirements. Yeah, he's confident, but he's a great fit. He's confident about his recommendations, but also open to trying out new things. But I've definitely received feedback. Like, sometimes I'll send him scratch tracks and he's like, that one kind of might need some work with the structure. You might want to work with that one a little bit more before we start. Like, he'll help out with that kind of thing.
That sounds pretty cool. Now, as far as the financial end of that, the putting that investment into the music, are you like, okay, I'll put this money into this and I'm expecting to make that money back plus more? Or are you putting your money into that because it's your creation? You don't really care necessarily. I mean, I know we all care. We want somebody to hear it and love it.
Yeah.
But you're not concerned about how well it does, or I mean, what is your view in that?
Yeah. I've worked a lot with money, my relationship with money and investing over the past couple of years. My short answer is talking to my boyfriend, and I said, wow, I'm really pouring a lot of money into this stuff, like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I've made probably like probably made $40. Like,
wow,
from streaming, right? Because I don't do gigs and stuff like that. So it's quote unquote investment, or just expense, however you want to see it. Then Marcellus, my boyfriend, asked, he's like, well, would you not do it then? Like, is the option to not do it? And I was like, no, I would still do it. Like, I still would spend it. He's like, well, there's your answer. So, I'm lucky to have a great job that's really steady. And so I have extra money to spend on music right now. Maybe someday it'll pay off, recoup the investment through, who knows? It's not going to be through streaming, probably. But
do you see yourself possibly signing on with a label in the future, or do you want to go away? You don't want to do that?
that's a possibility. I'm open to it. I wouldn't close myself off of it because I know the value that a label would bring in terms of like that business oomph and the marketing and the PR. And I don't know. I haven't made up my mind as to whether I'd be a happy touring artist or not.
Right.
I like to spend a lot of time calm and alone. So
yeah,
I like routine.
Same. Yeah. My fear in this, and I would love to hear your input on this, is when you sign on to a label, again, it goes back to the baby thing.
Yeah.
This is my baby. If I sign it over, I'm basically giving it up for adoption.
Yeah.
And I mean, it would be awesome to get my song out there.
Yeah.
But much of it is going to be my song once it's been put through the mill.
Yeah. And I think that's like a major consideration. You see big artists talking about it as well, like that struggle and that they really, really want to just make their art,
Mm-hmm. Because when you talk about putting that song out there like that, it's definitely going to take a turn with what you just said earlier of my music is kind of cheesy and just me. So then you put it through the mill of signing on with a label. Do you think that would be lost in that? Or is that something that you would just definitely be like drawing the line and saying, this is my negotiation?
I don't know. Here's the thing. When I think about it, not that I'm not skilled. I'm an artist with some skills and I'm happy about it. And I like my process. I like learning. But at the same time, I'm not that good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if anybody can really wreck my stuff, to be honest. Like, I need people to help me make my stuff. So
right.
I don't know if, honestly, with the songs I've made, how much of it is me and my great juicy ideas and other people doing stuff to make it sound good. So
I can get that. That makes sense. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, I don't know if anything would really get that lost.
I think you and I are very similar.
Do you have a specific song of yours that you think shows the most of you?
Yeah, I haven't released it yet.
It's even to come.
Still to come, yeah. The stuff I've released so far has got definitely that, well, except for the one song that's a little more laid back. It's a bit more, the stuff that's dancey and electronic, a bit upbeat. But of course, like, I don't know how to mix or produce. Me naturally in the world is just me with a banjo, mostly messing it up the whole time. Yeah, the songs that I really play and sing well that are just very resonating for me is stuff that's like the same exact finger pattern for the entire song and just like a real simple one melody. It's the folk stuff that I think is more core Sarah.
Right. So, okay, just for the listeners of the podcast's sake and for kind of a teaser kind of thing, can we get the name of the song that you will be releasing, or is it something that may change?
It is called Game We Play.
Okay.
Yes.
So on the show, I have a special section. I don't know if you've listened to any of the podcasts at this point, but it's a special section called On Focus. And On Focus is basically like an advertisement section where it's a little better than an advertisement. It is advertising for the artists who have been on the show. And what it is basically a sneak peek of new releases that are going to be coming out. So whenever you get to that point, contact. And all you have to do is record like a little 30-second blurb and send me a 35-second segment of the new release.
Okay.
But it's kind of fun. I like doing that. And again, like I said, I like coming up beside you guys and getting excited with you guys. And I like to pump up the listeners to look forward to the new releases.
Oh, great. I'll do that. I know exactly the clip too. It's got one of my favorite lyrics I've ever wrote in there. So that's the thing that I'm going to send.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Jeremy, have I forgot any questions that I normally ask?
I do not think so. I would like to say I like your description of the production process and the sounds. I think she and Stormy Weather talk the same words, the same vocabulary. She does production, and we're going to be interviewing her soon, and she'll just sit there and just kind of work it out. This needs a little and, plays it in there and stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I have to say with Stormy Weather, she has helped me to like the hi-hat. It's been used a lot in a lot of the modern rap and other things. It's so annoying when I get on the bus and I can hear somebody's
only the hi-hat.
and all I hear is
Yeah.
Sounds like a freaking sprinkler.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. I have that in a track I'm working on top lining right now for an instrumental, and that's the only sound in it that I'm like, I think I might have to ask him to change that. I just,
Yeah, for some reason to me, it just, because it's been so overused, it's kind of cringy.
Yeah. It's a little like a tiny poke, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want.
the Chinese water torture, you know?
Yeah. I like more the sound of like a wood block or something a little more round.
Yeah, a little more rich.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
But, okay. Do you play with people?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do, yeah. My roommate, Peter, he loves to play around with music too. And so we're kind of the musical instrument acquiry kind of people. He's got the steel tongue drum and a couple tambourines and shakers and a little drums kit and a guitar and So our living room has no real living space in it, but it has all the instruments. So we'll have friends over to jam. And usually what we come out with is like a bunch of really crass, just disgusting songs about just really dumb stuff. Because it's improv and all we know how to sing about is just forgetting to flush the toilet or something dumb like that.
So you found Cards Against Humanity for music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a fun time though. What a stress relief. We try to start with a song where everybody has to trade off doing a verse of lyric improvised, and it has to not make sense, which is a nice way to just get everybody in the flow of like, what you're going to say is it's going to be dumb sometimes. Who cares?
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love jamming. I love making it up.
I used to jam with, and this goes back to what you were talking about, the death metal. This is such an oxymoron, what I'm about to say. But I have a friend who is, or what, I don't know if he is now, but he was into Christian death metal. And he had I know, right? He had a band called Royal Anguish. And the aha moment for me that music was not just something to turn my nose up at was when he played a ballad that he had written called Autumn Sorrows. There might have been more to that title, but I remember Autumn Sorrows. And his girlfriend at that time did the singing in it, and he played his electric guitar, but it was so sweet sounding. He did some kind of little trick where he used the volume knob on the guitar, and that was all he did. He didn't put it through any editing or anything, and he made it sound almost like a violin.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, whoa. And I remember doing jam sessions with him, and he would play that for me. And I would sing harmony to a friend of mine who would sing the lead of that. And it just, the jam sessions were so intimate. It was so nice to be connected with people like that.
Yeah.
I miss that so much because I'm pretty much
like it. Yeah, it's such a
you can have those like serious intimate moments, and you can have those, it's still intimate, but it's like comedic kind of thing, you know, just fun to laugh and release and relax.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add?
This has been great. It's so nice to talk with other people about music and just meet other folks who love doing art. This has been awesome. I guess, well, what's coming next for me is I have 2 singles coming soon. They're ready. One of them's called Like It or Not, and it's a goofy dance song. It's kind of like a Katy Perry vibe about being naked. So that is coming out on March 18th. And then I have a song about road tripping. That's a good summer song. So I'm going to hold off on that, maybe wait for April so that it'll be more the right temperature.
Yeah.
So got those coming. But yeah, just expect a steady stream of singles from me on all. And if people want to get in touch with me, they can everywhere. I'm on most of the platforms, and my name is either Sarah Tolle or my handle is Sarah Jane Tolle. That's me. I always like to interact with people. TikTok's been great. TikTok is the place where I interact with other musicians and stuff. So that's a good time.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that's probably where I first saw you. So it does work. It gets you out there.
Yeah.
The other thing too, is there anything that you want to share with your listeners, and / this can be 2 different things if you want to kind of split it up, but I want to say it before I forget it. So anything you want to say to your listeners and other musicians who are just starting out, words of encouragement, whatever you want to say to them.
Yeah. I would say I've been thinking a lot lately about so many different learnings, but something that just came up this week was this concept of there's room at the table. It's not a zero-sum game, and that life most of the time really isn't this like you get this or that, because those are the rules. Usually we just draw these boxes around what we think we can do or what's allowed without realizing that, oh, if I want to do this and have this, I don't have to choose. I can have both. So I would encourage people to just try to gut check yourself when you're sitting there going, oh, I could do music or I could keep my job. It's like, you can do both. And something that helped me learn that definitely was Julia Cameron's The Artist Way books. The Artist Way books are great. 12-week thing of exercises and like useful journaling activities just helps build you up and get you centered and make you able to actually make the stuff that you want to make rather than being afraid. So I always definitely suggest that. Julia Cameron's Artist Way stuff. It's really good. Life-changing.
And that was geared to like the artist. Now, again, I say, like, is there anything that you want to say to your fans?
Oh, thanks for being my fans. It's kind of cool to have some fans.
Right? Oh, I know one thing I didn't mention, and that is this with numbers, like the numbers of viewers and listeners and all this stuff. Where are you with that? I know that, like I said, last year was my first release, and I was so focused on who's listening, how many are listening, and then it got really discouraging. Yeah. Until a friend of mine basically gave me a face slap and said, stop looking at the numbers and just sing. Don't talk. Don't explain yourself. Just sing.
You needed that.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm at with the numbers. Yeah, I was obsessive in the beginning as well. Now I'm more about the connections with folks who like making stuff. Like, it's more important for me to make interesting new things that resonate than to watch the numbers go up, because it's kind of a money thing as well. Like, if you pay for ads, you will get listeners. That's how it works. And if you get lucky with something viral, you will get listeners. But I mean, I can't go around making that be my quality of life metric. So I'm focusing a lot more on just making stuff that makes me happy and letting the rest take care of itself. Hopefully it does.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at now. Like I said, I was so focused on that, and just literally within the last probably 2 to 3 months is when I started to really kind of cling to what my friend said and realize that, you know what, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Yeah. If it's not gonna happen, then it won't. I have to be happy with what I'm doing. Yeah. I have to be happy with my child that I put out there, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And the fun part is I do have a handful of people that are really enjoying what I do. Mm-hmm. And that to me is worth more than 1 million listeners who are just going to listen and move on. Mm-hmm. But people who really get it, that's what I think is starting to really show up in my heart as being the most important thing. And
so completely.
Like I said, we seem to be on the same page, and we seem to be in the same groove of things as far as in our career so far. So that's cool.
Yeah, next time I go through a big change, I'll call you. Be like, is this happening for you as well?
I would love that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of people that are connected with me yet. It's starting because of the podcast. A lot of these musicians are communicating with me now, and it's fun. I love connection. I love friendships that develop over common theme, and it's nice. So yeah, I encourage you to reach out to that. But yeah, okay. So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. And I guess that'll be a wrap. And I appreciate your time.
Oh, great. It was awesome to chat with you both. This was fun.
Thank you. Okay. All right. You have a great night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, well, it's that time of show again where we have our previous guests come on and tell us about their events and new releases on Focus. So here we go.
Like it or not, this is how I look naked.
Hey everybody, this is Sarah, and great news, my new single, Like It or Not, is now available everywhere you can imagine, any place you stream or download music. And this is a fun, upbeat, danceable song about body acceptance and body celebration. So have a listen, let me know what you think, and have fun shaking your booties.
Like it or not.
Hey, my name is Constant, and I am excited to announce that my latest EP, Demeter's Daughter, is available now on all music platforms. Go stream it on Spotify or Apple Music. It's so dear to my heart. Every song is about my growth and journey as an artist, and I hope to take you on that journey with me.
I'd like to write you a song so you can know you did wrong. I'd like to air out my laundry. Is this love? Is this love?
Hi, I'm Natalie Miranda, and you're listening to my new single, Is This Love, out now everywhere. If you sign up to my website, nataliemiranda.com, you'll get a free download of the song. How cool is that? Hope you like it.
Fascinate me in a way that I just can't define. And I've been here 100,000 times. Always the same.
Hey, just a quick reminder before we close out the show. Don't forget about the forum, trps.us/forum. Now, I've included a keyword for this podcast episode for the DistroKid sign up. If you're a beginning musician or a musician who wants to put your work out there and get it out there in the public eye in iTunes, Spotify, all those awesome music platforms, then DistroKid is for you. And if you go to the forum and in the keyword box type in DK7, that'll give you a 7% discount off of DistroKid. Again, that code is DK7. Check it out. Visit the forum. Leave a comment if you're not interested in doing the DistroKid thing. Leave a comment if you do the DistroKid thing. I really want to get this forum popping, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the show, what I could improve, what I am doing good with. I want to know what you think. So I'll see you there. I'm waiting for you. The Real Paul Show is recorded, edited, produced, and published by Paul Bice. I am your host, Paul Bice. Periodic co-host is Jeremy. I will from time to time bring on random co-hosts, and they will be announced immediately following this segment. Ads are read by Scotty DeYoung and Ophelia Leone. Music behind Ophelia's ad reads are written by Paul Bice. The Real Paul Show podcast is a TRPS production.
Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Real Paul Show. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss an episode. And remember, do what you love with no regrets.